No, it's really nice to see you, Claire, again today, and to have a bit of a catch up, and to put a bit of a time aside for coaching. And we've already started talking about this topic a little bit, but just want to just share a bit. What is the topic? What was today's topic for us?
Yeah, so I've gone big, I'm afraid, but I think it's just because that's where my head is at the moment. I'm slightly losing my way in terms of I don't know if it's work, it's not work-life balance. I think I've got a balance, but it's how I suppose it's how my ambition seems to have it's to be waning a little bit
Hmm.
at the moment, and the drive to further my business and know where I'm focusing is not as attractive to me as being there for my kids who are teenagers who need me at the moment and are also taking a lot of headspace. And there's that kind of feeling of, well, I'll do the work thing later. There's enough kind of dribbling in. I don't need to make that much of an effort. It's okay. But then I know there's something inside me which is like, no, you want to make a go of growing your business. So you do need to be a bit more proactive. And then I'm just in that phase of I can't be bothered. Uh, so I'm hoping that this coaching session will help me, I suppose, find just remind me a little bit of what it is that I want to do, and maybe give myself permission to have to relook at a balance or to find a balance that actually works. Because going all the way into the kids stuff doesn't work. I need to work anyway, and going all the way into work doesn't work because I get a bit resentful, and I can't quite find my way at the moment. So that's where I am. That's my that's my lots of chatting around the topic, but that's probably the topic.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, I heard loads of words: drive, focus, ambition, can't be bothered, and as well.
Yeah.
But this, and I think what you just said at the end, there, it can't be just one, can't be just the other.
Mm.
But maybe straight down the middle doesn't work either. So,
Yeah.
trying to work it out, but you want to reconnect. You said you want to reconnect with something by the end of today. So, what is it you want
Yeah.
to reconnect with?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to find the internal encouragement to find that path towards the work that feels satisfactory and good and the right amount. Not just the right amount in terms of what I have to earn every month, but the right amount in terms of what it means to me and what it takes from me
Yeah,
and what I can give to it.
yeah,
Because the whole reason that I moved into this area of work is to have flexibility and also to be able to give and enjoy it. And I do. I love the work that I do, and it gives me great satisfaction. But for some reason, I'm not driven to grow. I'm not driven to find more clients, and that feels uh, strangely unfamiliar. I think
mm,
that 4 years ago, when did I start this? 4 years ago, um, I was so driven. And I would say the last 3.5 years, I felt really driven. And now I feel very January at the beginning of February. Very much like I want to, recede into a little ball in the corner of
mm.
the couch half the time, as opposed to kind of get going. So to answer your question at the end of the session, I just like to have a little bit of light that leads me towards finding that continuity and a constant that is not overwhelming, but feels right for the moment.
And if you found that little bit of light for those things that you just described, what would it mean to you?
There's a lot of pride wrapped up in in me working. I think I feel like there's a lot of, and this could start to get into a much wider conversation, but I've always worked. Um, I've educated myself well. I have been very consistent. I feel like I've I want to set a good example, and I feel like I have set a good example to my children. Um, but on the flip side of that, that pride, it also kind of feels like a bit of a heavy responsibility, where, you know, I have trained and I've done well, and I'm quite good at what I do. There's always room for improvement, but I feel like I have to do it, and that doesn't feel good. Yeah. Because I feel like I have to do it because I've trained now and I've done these things, and I want to show the children that I want to show the children that it's important to be a working parent and to contribute and to feel good about yourself, and but all those things are true. So, and again, it's that strange balance. If I could find that light, if I could feel proud of the work that I was doing without feeling like it's that immense weight of responsibility, that would be a good balance. But I don't quite know how to feel that. I think I did feel it before. And now there's part of me which just wants to kind of drop it all for a couple of months and then restart it. But the shame that I feel around that is quite strong. So I feel kind of stuck between conversations in my brain, where I know that finding that light would feel good, but I also know that I want to give myself a break, and I need to give myself permission that that's okay too.
So again, I mean, I'm not going to repeat back all those words, but there's some quite significant emotional words, aren't there? Around pride and shame and others. Okay, so let's go right to the end of our time together this morning, and imagine you've worked through this. Imagine you've talked through all of these thoughts and new ideas. What would you want to be different?
I would like something to lift in me a little bit, I think, so that I would like to feel less guilty. I would like to be more understanding of myself. So put less pressure on myself. I think that I probably go towards quite perfectionist tendencies, and even though I'm very comfortable knowing that perfection doesn't exist and very comfortable being imperfect, I still think those tendencies are there. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I'd like to feel less pressure. I guess it would be nice to feel like I'm being a little kinder to myself. I said understanding, but just like a little bit kinder. And I think, if I was speaking to somebody else, I'd be saying, like, it's okay to have a dip, and then believe that you can come back from it. And I think I'd like to feel like that, like I can tell myself that and believe it.
Yes.
But I'd also like to have actually something where I feel like there's a little bit of a plan.
Yeah.
Just, the small steps thing, like a little plan where if I can just kind of lift myself up and get going a little bit, that would be helpful.
So, okay, so being able to have a dip and come back to it and not make it mean anything, and a couple of steps for a plan. Okay, does that feel like enough as a starting point?
I'd like to be less hard as well, like on myself. I think that's quite a strong one. There's if you think back to those words, the mix of the shame and the guilt and that kind of stuff, like it's very, very strong, that feeling of I should and I must, and I'm rubbish if I don't. And even though using those words, I know it's so non-useful and restrictive, but the feelings are there. I'd like to feel less like that.
Okay.
I don't know if we can do that by the end of the session.
If we can do that by 15:15, that'd be great. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we'll give it a go. Should we get stuck into the meat? I mean, we're already into the meat of this, aren't we? But should we get stuck in properly? Okay. Yeah. Actually, the last question I wanted to ask in this opening stage is about like what makes this something that it's like a coaching topic. And by that, I mean, why not just do what you said, which is you've got kids on GCSEs and options, and why not just, take a break, a couple of months and come back to it and not make it mean anything, as opposed to feeling that you have to work through all of this?
Well, I don't think financially it's important to keep working.
Sure.
So there is that. But I think more than that, it's mentally. I feel like even if I'm doing a small bit, it keeps it keeps something ticking over a little bit. I mean, interestingly, financially, I could actually take a couple of months off.
Yeah.
And I could, and I'm in a position where I could do that as long as I was to get back to it. I could do that. I suppose that frightens me quite a lot. I don't think other than after the birth of my first child, because I didn't even take a break after the birth of my second child, but after the birth of my first child, it's probably the only time that I didn't work since I'd like to say since I left university, but actually I worked as a kid, from the age of 14 or something. You think you actually have been working or had that mental state of need of wanting to earn money and contribute something of yourself when you're doing whatever it is you're working as. So I could do it. That feels really tricky. That feels really tricky. I feel like I need to explain myself consistently. And then there's the worry of, well, what if I don't use the time well? What if I take 2 months off and then 2 months' time I'm exactly at this place where I'm like, I still haven't kind of got myself back in. I forget where the question started, but
just trying to work out what makes this a topic that needs coaching. I mean, I think it's in a way, isn't it? Because you're talking through lots of things, but I just want
listen, I think so many topics benefit from coaching. Any kind of space to try to unravel the thoughts, which is so strongly entwined in all of our minds. It's like it's an unraveling, isn't it? It's trying to work out what I actually feel, because there's so many different emotions and drivers and situations. They're all kind of layer on top of each other. It's actually quite difficult to work out what it is that I'm actually feeling, other than the myriad of emotions that I've already said, which feels a bit messy. So I think the coaching might just, even if it doesn't give me an answer, it might help me tidy up some of the conversations that are happening in my mind.
Okay. So we're in tidying up mode, which is, I have to say, not my forte. Many people in my life would tell you that. So you've already got loads of stuff on the table, haven't we? We've got thoughts, we've got feelings, we've got some stuff going on. Perhaps as the starting point, talk about what thinking have you done about this already? And I'll distinguish thinking from thoughts just popping in, but actually thinking about this and processing and analyzing. So what have you done about that so far?
Done a little bit. I think that even though I really want to have a path to kind of getting back onto feeling the energy of running my own business and doing things, I want to get back to that. But actually the thinking has happened more on the other side, which is if I were to give myself an opportunity, how would I use it and what would I do? Because I think that I've never, as I said, other than after the birth of my first child, which is now 16 years ago, I haven't had a break. And I suppose I feel quite privileged to even be on this call and being able to say I could take 2 months off financially. I know that that's a really lucky position to be in. And I think that the idea of even doing that kind of creates a lot of emotion with me, because I feel guilty about it. And then if I didn't use it well, like I was speaking to my husband about it, it's like, I'm not, what is it that I actually want to do with that time? And how does that help me get back onto my career-driven
Yeah.
kind of process as well. So I have started to think about it, and I did speak to my sister about it as well, because she took 10 days. She needed a reset, a very different situation to me. And she did things that I wouldn't necessarily do. You know, she was reading certain books, trying to find certain ways through dealing with whatever complications there was. But it's more the idea that she chose to take 10 days to try to reset herself, and actually had a very practical, pragmatic plan.
Yes.
And so to answer your original question of what kind of thinking have I done, of my thinking has been like, well, I don't have a plan, and I feel guilty about taking any time to myself without having a plan. So therefore I need to do the other stuff, which is the stuff that I don't have the energy for.
Yes. Yes. So that thinking, all these thoughts are emerging. How much, and we're guessing here, right? But how much do you get a sense that this is internal, like embedded messages that you've got, thoughts and feelings you've got about yourself, versus external, what will other people think? What will they say? What do you worry about other people think? Do you get a sense of the internal versus the external?
Uh, I'm not sure if I've thought about it in that way, but I think I do have a sense of it, in that I imagine, or my sense is, that a lot of it is me putting expectations on myself. I've recognized recently, and I think this might just be part of growing older, and I've always cared so much about what other people think. The judgment of others has probably been one of the biggest drivers that's always influenced me in a way that I don't want to be influenced by, but it's been very strong. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that people don't really care as much as you think they do.
Too busy thinking about themselves, right?
Too busy thinking about themselves. And it's not that they don't care, or they're not good people, or they don't love you, or they don't, they whether it's not as friends or colleagues or people you don't really know very well, that doesn't matter so much. So I'm not saying that those feelings of judgment have gone, because they're still very, very strong in me. But I would say that that's the outer ones. The inner feelings are the stronger ones. It's the feeling of, I like the discomfort of taking time for myself. And it's two things. First is that doesn't feel comfortable. And then it makes me sad that doesn't feel comfortable.
Yes.
Because it is okay. If I was to say it is okay, so what is it that feels so uncomfortable? Well, I suppose I don't want to regard myself, or to be regarded as somebody who takes time for themselves and isn't working for a couple of months. Especially if I don't find it a useful period of time. Sorry. So so I think there is external influences which are strong, but a lot of them have become internalized.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And the reason I ask that question is because a lot of the words that you use tend to be about how people, how we can be seen, guilt and shame, things.
And I think it's true. I think it's right.
Okay. You said a couple of times taking time for yourself, but the time you're talking about is supporting your kids with their schooling. How is that taking time for you? This isn't a 2-month backpacking thing, is it?
No, but that sounds great. That's like an excuse. Well, it's funny. I think it's a mixture of the two, because they're still in school. So, and there's never going to be a place at which I don't give time to them as soon as they walk in from school until they go to bed, and all on the weekends. That happens anyway. As a working mom, as a mom who wants to be around, and as somebody who owns their own business, I've created that flexibility on purpose. So I am there for them in that time. I suppose at the time when I'm talking about for myself, are those hours when they're not here, which is, well, I'd like to say it's like 9 till 3 or whatever.
Mm.
Once the dog's been more, maybe 10 till 3, like those 5 hours when I work.
Yeah.
Yes, there is definitely some stuff that I'm doing for the kids in that time, absolutely, but not fully.
Yeah.
So I think it's a balance between wanting to be there more for the children. And actually, I've done myself a disservice by saying I'm always around for them after school. I think actually I flit in and out of working and not working.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that. I actually have a 4 o'clock meeting today, so that immediately I'm not there for them for that hour or whatever it might be. But I think that it's more than being there for the children, to be honest with you, Charlie. I think it's like I want to do. It's almost like I want to do a bit of soul searching.
Yeah.
I've constantly done things for others. I really feel like I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's not like a woe is me situation, but it's that realization like your kids are starting to get older. They definitely still need me, probably much more than they ever did. But then if I wasn't working or being with the children, or, to be quite honest, also looking after the home, and my dad's been in hospital, my mum needs me, and I'm the eldest of 4 children, so I've got younger siblings who rely on me, and I love it all. I love it all. I'm so grateful to be that person. But then sometimes there is that moment of there's just some backlog and some stuff I'd really like to get on with, or there's some like thoughts to myself that I'd really like to sit with, and I can't. I feel guilty about taking that in that window when the kids are at school.
So feeling guilty, and you talked a couple of times earlier on. You said, you must make this time useful. If you do take this time, you must make this useful. I can't. I mean, I don't imagine you sitting around watching Loose Women, but
No.
but the idea that you just sat and read a book that wasn't, some erudite personal development book, it's like it sounds like it fills you with like anathema to not be productive.
I can't actually imagine sitting down and reading a book which isn't either something to do with the work that I do, or it's almost always to do with the work that I do, or something to do with like health and longevity and things, just because that happens to be an interest, and I want to make sure that I'm, looking after myself and looking after my family. So the only time I read a fiction book is during a summer holiday.
Yeah.
I actually can't imagine. I think that would be like a step too far for me to sit down and read a fiction book. Is that weird? that feels like no, I can't do that. I need to be doing like social media for my business. I can't read a book.
So, I mean, I was, I don't give any advice. So, but what happened there when I just said read a book as a throwaway line? What happened there?
It was like it felt way too far into chilling out by yourself. Like it's like no, I can that's not what I mean. I mean, like I need to sit there and read all the self-help books and the coaching books and all the stuff that that sat very uncomfortably with me, because then I feel like I'm taking the piss.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then it feels like it doesn't feel deserving, and it also goes against kind of what I was saying at the beginning, where there's like a pride in being able to work hard and pay bills and show the kids that I'm independent and all that kind of stuff, and sitting there reading a book doesn't deserve the place of time in those precious middle hours when the kids are in school.
So deserving the time. I'm going to be a little bit spiky here. Imagine, right, imagine in one of your listen to a podcast about longevity, right? They said what research shows, right, that people who sit down in the daytime and read a book live till 94, right, and people who don't drop down dead at 78 or something. I'm slightly teasing you, but what would happen if you were told something like that? What?
I'd probably read the bloody book. Yeah, I probably would, probably would, because that's like, longevity and health and stuff is quite interesting to me. So like, and I'm prepared to make changes along those lines. So yeah, probably would.
Okay, so if there was an evidence-based and an external approving authority, even if it is what's his face with his podcast, you'd do it. But otherwise, it would feel wrong on every
I would
level.
I would certainly consider it, or I'd probably put it on my list of one of the things I should be doing.
All right, okay. Brilliant, genius. So, so all of this stuff that you're talking about is very much focused on the trying to get your sense of self around this and what's going on and all of your feelings. So, um, like, where do you see yourself in all of this, in all of these things and these choices and these activities?
What do you mean by where do I
Like,
see
like
myself?
your sense of what you need rather than your sense of what you have to do.
I think that, and I don't think this is just about me, I think that any mother uh, will really struggle with working out what they need,
Yeah,
to be quite honest with you. I think that whether you're a full-time working mother, part-time working mother, full-time mother, it doesn't matter. We're all together in this. I don't think that what I need ever features. I don't think I even know what I need.
yeah,
I don't think I've ever even I don't think I've ever even considered, other than I like to be organized and tidy and doing these things, but it tends to is not necessarily about the self.
yeah,
And that's probably, I think, and I imagine that there would be many people who resonate
yeah.
with that. I'd love to think that. Sorry to be generalizing by saying I'm saying mothers because, and it's not just mothers, because it's like anybody who cares for somebody else.
Yeah.
So anybody is just, but being a female and being a mother and also working and also having aging parents and siblings and friends, but we all have this, right? And I'm not special in this. um I don't, I'm not sure what I need.
Okay. And
I'm not sure that what I need is what I was even thinking about trying to discover, actually. But maybe I need to find out what I need.
so, well, I mean, it's a question that I asked it in out of a spirit of naivety, I think. But is it something that needs a bit of time? Not necessarily today, but is it something you want to put a bit of time on, or do you need to wait till the kids are about 30 before you'll come back to it?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that again, I do try to put on the hat of what I might be saying to somebody else.
Mm.
And I think that if I was talking to somebody else, I would, in a similar boat. I actually do believe this, that it's important to kind of fill your own cup to be able to give and support others.
Mm.
And considering my line of business is also about giving and supporting others, sometimes that if that cup is quite empty, to use that general metaphor that people like to use, it is quite hard to give. And I would definitely say that to others. And I think I can, even as part of this conversation, recognize that maybe that's where I am a little bit, is that I'm just it's not overwhelmed. It's not that things are bad. It's not, it's not, it's just, I'm probably just a little bit running low.
Yeah.
But I don't know entirely how to fill that.
Mm.
I don't actually, I'm not sure. And the things, this is the thing, I think, as we grow, we change, whatever. What it used to be that I'm probably still doing now doesn't seem to be doing the job.
Okay.
So maybe that would be useful.
Okay. So maybe that's a topic for another conversation, whether it's in coaching or with, one of your three siblings or your mum or your husband or someone else. Okay. Okay. All with me, of course. And if I tie that back to yeah, you're saying that maybe it is a break. You do have a need that something's stopping you being in love with your work, which you so are in love with. Like, how is what we're talking about today helping you see a bit more clearly what's going on with you and your work?
Do you say my work or my work?
Your work.
work.
Sorry.
Because I think, no, just because I think actually worth is wrapped up in that quite a lot too, which is an interesting word to think about. I think in terms of this conversation and my work is if I can understand better what it is that's meaning that I'm not feeling driven.
Yeah.
If I can understand that better, then I think that the rest flows naturally. I've got that funny thing with work where I know I love it.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a situation where it's like I'm not sure I like what I do.
Yes.
I do like what I do. And I do like some of the different opportunities that have arisen over the years. It's just getting the drive back to do it more.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I feel like there was this very steep learning curve when you kind of set up your own business and you change career, which is what I did a few years ago, and that's really exciting, and you're learning a lot and you're developing a lot, and that if you don't get that momentum at the beginning, then you never get anything off the ground.
Yeah.
And I suppose that then plateaus a bit. And it's just working out how to, because it's not that it's boring or dull. I still like what I do, but it feels a little bit uneventful.
Yeah.
So then it's like I need to kind of give I suppose there's something in me where I'm not great at just existing in I'm much better under pressure. Like I work well where I'm like I have to get something done, or and I suppose I'm now just milling along, and I think I've just lost my interest. So maybe in terms of this conversation, if I look at a little bit about how I build myself on a personal level, maybe that then where I kind of that's almost like that. You ever study Virginia Woolf, that voyage of self-discovery? Remember that from my English A-level studying? It's like you go through a journey for yourself, and then like the rest kind of starts to fit into place a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe filling that cup is going to help me with that drive, because it's intertwined. It's not like I just look after myself personally and business is separate. I am that person that does it's like they're joined up. I can't separate the working me and the work I do from the personal me entirely.
So there's a lot within that, isn't there? I mean, there's, and I'm not going to try and summarize it because there's quite a few sub themes. So from what you've just shared there, and what's important, what's starting to emerge from you?
What's starting to emerge for me?
Yeah.
There's a few things that are emerging. One is if I did take this time, it's I don't need to because I need to find comfort in taking the time. Right, I said it was an uncomfortable idea. I wonder if I could take this time and create like a plan for myself where I do a bit of that self-discovery. How do I fill the cup that used to fill in one way but doesn't anymore? Alongside, what is it that I really want to do? Is it that I've plateaued and that I want to now go back up a steep slope again? Is that what it is? Is that the drive? I feel like there's a few things are emerging that I can just go away from this session and scribble them down and have a little think about like distilling it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that I can just, there's with all those thoughts and all those responsibilities, I need to just work out. It's not like I have to work out my entire life.
Yeah.
I just need to just work out those next steps. So that this session has been useful in I suppose, what it is? It's the first stage of giving yourself permission is talking it out and being allowed to be that messy kind of confused person, and then start to, as I said, like unpick the tangle and then start to put it back together again. So it feels like that's been very useful.
Let's try and close the loop a little bit. If we go back 35 minutes, you used those words, guilt and shame, and said you'd like to feel little bit less like that, and now you're saying permission to feel like this. First step, talking. So what's different? What's different about how you feel now?
Yeah, so I think that, it's not like feelings like guilt and shame and all that stuff. It doesn't disappear. It's not, there's no, neither you nor I were expecting those kind of shifts, but it's more, I think it's that to recall, to know that sounds stupid, like that's okay. It's okay that you feel guilty, and it's okay that there's shame mixed up in it. But what is it that I can do with that? And that's where the permission part comes in. It's just nice to be able to say, well, do you know what? I'm not saying I'm going to, but now the idea of taking the time, some time, to work through this, it feels less less guilt laden, I suppose, because I know me. I'm quite dynamic, and I'm quite, I'm organized, and I'm not just sitting around. I'm gonna, and yeah, I really want to spend the time being there for my children. It's really important to me, and that's okay. I don't feel guilty about that, in the slightest. But I do feel less guilty about the idea of taking a bit of time to work out where I'm going, like on a personal level and on a business level. That's not a waste of time.
Yes, so that's not a waste of time. Okay. So though, as well as wanting to have a shift on those feelings, you also wanted to have to make peace with how you're going to be this next little period of time, and to see if a little bit of a way of falling back in love with your business. So where are you on those two subtopics?
With the falling in love with the business, I think I need to make some kind of a change.
Yeah.
I do think that it's been helpful to kind of work out that I did have that energy, and now that I've kind of almost got to where I wanted to, then I'm lagging now a bit. So that's useful in terms of business. What was the other one?
So they're making peace with the plan of you being a bit in and out of work these next few months.
Yeah, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. It still creates a discomfort. I suppose I feel guilty about being lucky enough to be able to think about this as a potential decision. Like there's that as well. But I'm certainly, I feel like I can now go off and have a conversation, certainly with my husband, and probably with my sister, just about doing that and being okay with that, and how that might be useful. I feel like I think that's okay to want, if you're going to do something, you want it to be a useful thing. I'm not talking about plodding along. And I suppose maybe that's when you think about the external judgment and all of that. I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm just doing nothing. like not that anybody knows anything that I'm doing anyway. Like I don't even know who I'm telling this to. Why would one person know that I'm not, doing all this work and I'm actually taking, like, it's not even anyway. But I do feel less guilt. In fact, it's not. In fact, maybe it's not even guilty. I feel slightly excited by the idea of allowing myself to take some time. Because I just don't feel like I've really ever done it. I've gone from one thing to other, and it's been great, but it just doesn't. It's not fitting right now. So yeah, it'll be quite nice.
So you've gone from you're able to have a conversation, you're able to start looking forward to it. Fab. Okay.
Yeah,
So loads of things, and just to really encapsulate then. or you've talked about those three things you wanted to achieve. What specific things are you going to do now? Like, and it sounds like a lot of your actions are more thinking, more talking, which is, as you know, in coaching, that's cool. So just name the steps that you've got in your mind from now.
Yeah, it's thinking and talking is important, absolutely. But I need to write things down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just, I don't go off and think. I need to, it'll be useful for me to write a bit of a list. And I just think it's almost like I've realized that there's the work stuff, there's the personal, there's the just me,
Yeah.
which I've not really ever thought about. And then there's the things which I really want to do for the kids and the family that it has become very important. It's always been very important to me, but various circumstances recently has made me really want to delve into that even more. So it's almost like I need to get some of these thoughts out of my mind and onto paper. I work quite well like that. I know it's not everybody's thing. I don't mean like journaling and stuff. I just, because that's not my thing, but it's more like writing a few things down and then maybe having some conversations about it. But also I just, not that I can come up with them right now, but for me, want to have a few practical things to do. That would feel, the stuff you tick off, the things that it's like, right, if I want to get to this stage, what is it that I can do? And I don't know what those things are right now, but I would say as a result of this session, I'm kind of excited to try to work them out because I don't think it will take me that long. Yeah. And then I can use this time, however much time it ends up being. I'm still working to an extent anyway. It's not like it all disappears. Right. But between work and the kids, there is time. And I'm going to go off and write a list.
So, and is that now, like, I'll do it straight away or I'll do it later on today or
I can't do it right now because I've got another meeting and then I need to go to school for an options meeting in the middle of the day with my younger child. So not quite now, but that will be my tomorrow job because tomorrow I've actually kept clear purposely, knowing that I was seeing you today. And I know today's I've got a busy day today, but tomorrow is like a focus day. So that's quite nice.
So you can embed and carry on thinking about all of those thoughts and the ideas and write a list that you'll be happy with, right?
Yeah. Certainly something that's going to spur me on into some kind of action, which is, I think, important for all of us. But I know for me, I'm quite a doer, so that will make me feel better if I know that there is a thing to do. Yes. That feels more comfortable with me, and less that doesn't create guilt. That creates like more drive. I need to know what I'm doing. I think I've come to this session not knowing what I'm doing. I'll come away from this session being like, I can plan what to do, and that helps with some of that energy that I've been lacking.
And is there anything you need to do? And I'm only asking this from experience. If I think, I must write that down tomorrow, and then by tomorrow, half of it's gone a bit woolly. Is there anything you need to do just to make sure those thoughts don't disappear in the next 24 hours?
I think my point that I just made about the three different areas, I think that would be quite a useful thing that I will quickly scribble down just to think about, the work, the me, and the responsibilities I have to others. Yes. We all are created with all of that. I just need to kind of separate it out a little bit, like I was saying, like decant it or distill it down a little bit, just to work out some priorities, really.
Yeah, understood. Fab. And not for today, but perhaps reflect when you're writing your list. Perhaps reflect on like what does good look like? What would success look like if you go forward from that list? I don't know, 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks, so that you've got like a next step. That's a little bit of a walk the dog question, if you like. Okay, fab. But listen, I wanted to say thank you because you as ever, we have good conversations and you're very open but today particularly, you've used some, a lot of strong language. I mean, a lot of sort of reflective and quite vulnerable language, and I think you're being very, very you're trying to work through some significant things that, like you say, don't disappear in a drop of a hat. So thank you for really getting stuck in, and also obviously for letting us record this. Tell me, how are you feeling as we get to the end of this now, Claire?
Yeah, I feel good actually. I really enjoy speaking with you. I always do. I don't think I would be so vulnerable if I didn't feel so comfortable. And I also I like to be vulnerable, and knowing that this is being recorded, because you know, quite a lot of us feel quite similar things.
Yes.
So thank you for giving me that chance to do it, and it's nice to kind of come away from the session and I feel like I've got something to do, like I'm, you know, that there is change in the air, and that feels nice.
Change in the air, and that feels nice. Well, thank you. This was 40 minutes, you know, really well spent. So thank you for getting stuck in, and good luck. I hope it goes really well, and not just your options meeting today, but all of these sorts and all of these plans for you with your coaching as well.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank
All right,
you.
thanks.